Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to this special edition of Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Alyssa Stoney. Thank you for joining us. Tonight we're taking a look at the stories from our Los Angeles bureau, from delays at the Port of Los Angeles to former Congresswoman Gabby Gifford's unveiling of a gun violence memorial.
As a growing supply chain crisis is delaying the delivery of goods across the country, the Port of Los Angeles is expanding to operate 24/7. Los Angeles bureau reporter Jude Binkley went to the ports to see how workers hope to clear a massive backup of container ships from China and other countries.
Nearly 40% of all America's imports come from the ports of Long Beach and Los Angeles, but supply chain disruptions mean that ships have been waiting at anchor for extended periods. The White House finalized a deal to have the Port of Los Angeles operate around the clock to help combat these disruptions and end the bottleneck that threatens the holiday season.
As a nation, having the flexibility and the fluidity of 24/7 operations is really important. I think we all understand that the whole supply chain in the United States, and in fact globally, was creaking along before the pandemic. The pandemic laid bare with its increased volumes and with its different buying patterns, it laid bare a system that really needs to be modified.
When President Biden made this announcement, there were 62 ships at anchor in San Pedro Bay, with 25 more on the way. Now, half of those ships are coming here to the Port of Los Angeles, with the other half going to the neighboring port of Long Beach, which is also expanding their operations. While the agreement was reached last Wednesday, the transition to 24/7 operations won't be immediate. With over 100,000 companies dealing with imports at the Port of LA, authorities say it could take time to get everyone on the same page.
The work here will be fast. It has to be. We've got milestones ahead of us. We've got 62 container ships at anchor. We've got goods that need to flow for the holiday season. So we understand the stakes that are in front of us and the work that has to be done.
With some companies facing months-long delays for shipping containers, the shift to nonstop operations reflects a push to modernize our shipping infrastructure.
24/7 system, what most of the leading countries in the world already operate on now, except us, until now. This is the first key step toward moving our entire freight, transportation, and logistical supply chain nationwide to a 24/7 system.
As part of this deal, major suppliers like Walmart, UPS, FedEx, and Home Depot have committed to unloading cargo during off-peak hours to help the port operate nonstop. In Los Angeles, Jude Binkley, Cronkite News.
Striking fast food workers took to the streets in Southern California to call for better working conditions recently. Our Los Angeles bureau reporter Jude Binkley was at one of the strikes to learn more about the bill they're trying to get lawmakers to pass.
Fast food workers across Southern California went on strike last week, pushing legislature to pass Bill AB 257. The bill would establish an 11-member fast food sector council to set industry-wide minimum standards on wages, working hours, and safety in California.
And so what this says is you got to sit down and you got to negotiate over what would be a fair wage. You got to negotiate over working conditions. Supporters
gathered outside a McDonald's in Hollywood, which is closed for renovations.
Okay, it's understandable that you guys are closing for, for remodeling or whatever the case may be, but at least give people an opportunity to find somewhere else to go or relocate these people.
The demonstrations were coordinated by national labor advocates at Fight for 15. Strikers voiced their concerns over lack of safety precautions during COVID and the difficulty of living off their current wages.
Almost irrespective of where in California you live, the ability to afford safe living neighborhoods, to be able to afford food, to put their kids into school, and to provide a healthy, safe, middle-class existence has disappeared.
The bill was introduced at the beginning of this year and was defeated by 3 votes in June. It'll have the chance to appear again when legislature reconvenes in January. In Los Angeles, Jude Binkley, Cronkite News.
California is set to extend a $15 minimum wage to everyone in 2023, with Arizona's minimum wage increasing to $12.80 next year.
A sobering message for the start of this holiday season. Car crashes are the leading cause of death for people ages 1 to 54, according to the CDC. Cronkite News reporter Amanda Day went to an event promoting sober driving and met those impacted by drunk and drugged drivers.
I miss him. If you're a mom, your child dies before you. You die every day. Every minute of every day.
Lily Gossage's 16-year-old son, Aiden, was killed in early September by a driver suspected of being under the influence. She joined several families and advocates at MAD at a recent event to raise awareness against drunk and drugged driving.
This isn't an accident. It's manslaughter, it's murder. People who drive and take drugs, they choose to do that. There's so many ways to get Uber, to call, to not do that. That comes from a depraved and selfish heart.
The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration Department says alcohol-related crashes went up 9% in 2020.
Although there's 13% less cars on the road, the DUIs are significantly increased, and that is because of the pandemic. People are drinking more frequently, working from home. Those happy hours are becoming more frequent, and then people are getting in their cars and driving after.
According to MAD, someone in America dies every 51 minutes because of a drunk driving accident. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration Department says in 2019, 260 Arizonans and 949 Californians died in alcohol-impaired driving fatalities. In Long Beach, Amanda Day, Cronkite News.
If you or anyone you know has been impacted by a drunk or drugged driving accident, you can visit madd.com for victim assistance.
Or Day of the Dead honors loved ones that have passed away. Cronkite News LA reporter Amanda Day takes us to one unique celebration in Los Angeles.
Families gathered at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery last weekend for Dia de los Muertos to celebrate and honor their loved ones with elaborate altars.
This particular altar is dedicated to my father. He passed away 2 years due to liver cancer, and this holiday, he used to come and help me. So I know it was very important to him too. And a lot of the items that are used in this altar is items that he either used or he either liked, like the food.
One popular symbol of Day of the Dead, or Dia de los Muertos, is the ofrenda. It offers a way for family members to honor those who have passed, rather than mourn. Marilyn wanted to keep this altar honoring her father as traditional as possible.
You can see there's a lot of marigolds. That we believe that the scent of the marigolds helps the spirits guide them to the altar. We also we represent the 4 elements, which is water, air, earth, and fire.
While COVID transmission rates have been comparatively low in LA recently, this year's Dia de los Muertos honored many who died in the pandemic, including Marilyn's cousin.
He was a lawyer in Mexico, and he still wanted to help people. And this was at the beginning of COVID. He was wearing his mask, but he still got exposed, and he ended up passing away 3 months after he got diagnosed.
She says it is harder to come to an event like this after losing a loved one to COVID. In Los Angeles, Amanda Day, Cronkite News.
There are more than 100 gun deaths per day in the United States. Former Congresswoman and gun violence survivor Gabby Gifford went to LA to unveil an installation with her organization. Our Los Angeles Bureau reporter Jude Binkley visited the memorial for more.
As part of a nationwide tour to raise awareness for gun violence, former Arizona Congresswoman Gabby Gifford unveiled the LA Gun Violence Memorial in Exposition Park yesterday. The memorial features 3,400 white vases with flowers representing each Californian who died from gun violence in 2020.
Stopping gun violence takes courage. The courage to do what's right, the courage of new ideas. I've seen great courage when my life was on the line. Now is the time to come together, be responsible. Democrats, Republicans, everyone. We must never stop fighting. Fight, fight, fight. Be bold. Be courageous.
The Giffords organization unveiled a memorial at National Mall in Washington, D.C. earlier this year, which had 40,000 vases to represent the national total of gun violence deaths.
We've heard a lot of praise for former Congresswoman Gabby Gifford for her courage, her resilience, her determination. She's one who is had to commit her life to her recovery.
In January 2011, a man shot and killed 6 people and injured 13 others during an attack on Giffords in Tucson. She was among several gun violence survivors who spoke at the event, as well as California State Assemblyman.
What you see behind us is a monument to thousands of people whose lives were destroyed, thousands of families who have been impacted.
The memorial sits in Exposition Park near the USC campus in South Los Angeles until Friday. In Los Angeles, Jude Binkley, Cronkite News.
A decade after the mass shooting that targeted Gabby Giffords in Tucson, an award-winning memorial now sits in the center of the city. Cronkite News reporter David Bloom caught up to the artist behind the memorial in Los Angeles.
The community came together to be able to embrace each other under such difficult and horrendous moment. The community came together in an embrace and embraced and held each other tight in the suffering. When you enter the memorial, it's 2 arms embracing. At the center is a pathway that really is the axis. You have the pools on one side and the other, and then you have the embrace, a pathway that then you walk down into the wall to be able to, again, it becomes a little bit like a chapel. The noise recedes, and you enter a quiet space of meditation.
Recently, the Embrace was honored with the 2021 Collaboration of Design and Art Award for Public Spaces. Judges said the memorial transformed a haunting memory into a fluid, elevating, poetic experience.
For me, winning this award was a confirmation that public art can serve much more than sometimes just being an aesthetic sculpture or something, but it actually serves social issues and serves very, very pressing issues, especially around gun violence.
According to experts at the Gun Violence Archive, gun violence claimed 43,632 lives in America in 2020. One survivor, Pam Simon, spent a decade contributing her input to the project.
It was so important to me that the memorial symbolize and honor not just those of us that were injured, the victims, the families of the victims, but to honor how our community came together, the resilience of our community.
For now, the memorial offers a peaceful space to mourn and to heal. In Los Angeles, David Bloom, Cronkite News.
This award-winning memorial sits in the front of the Pima County Courthouse in Tucson. Los Angeles may be known for its traffic, but one organization regularly shuts down major streets to give locals car-free days. Los Angeles reporter Amanda Day brings us to an open street day to show us how this can be good for the environment.
Can we make LA the most joyful city in the entire world? And we said, why not try that? Yeah. Why not do Ciclavia? 11 years later, 36 events later, 250 miles later, and 2 million people later.
Bikes, walkers, runners, and many others gathered on the streets of LA recently to experience Ciclavia. The executive director of Ciclavia says car-free days are fun, but climate change is the focus of their events.
We know that climate change is a very important issue for the entire world. And part of our work is to change behavior of individuals and people to make a more climate resilient community. What better way to encourage behavior change than joy and fun on bikes, on walking, rollerblading, to reduce your carbon footprint as individuals.
Car manufacturers have been improving environmentally. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, between 2004 and 2019, CO2 emissions for new vehicles decreased 23%.
It's a day where we actually see a reduction in NOx and SOx and carbon emissions because we have less streets actually in this central area of LA, which normally as a civic center would have a lot of pollution and congestion.
According to Ciclavia's website, they improved the air quality by 20% by reducing smog during their events held several times a year.
You begin to realize we probably own more bikes than we do automobiles in LA City. We just don't see them as much as we would like to.
Along with Los Angeles, Paris, Vancouver, and cities around the world have held car-free street days to improve pedestrian access without the chaos of cars. In Los Angeles, Amanda Day, Cronkite News.
According to Ciclavia, more than 1.8 million people have participated in the car-free street events.
A not so long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, a global pandemic forced the Jedi Knights into hiding. Our Los Angeles Bureau reporter Jordan Moffat ventured out to find out what they've been up to.
While the end of the battle against COVID-19 is yet to be seen, these Jedi Knights have returned from exile, sparring and sharpening their lightsaber wielding skills once again.
We are AZ Saber. We are, to put it simply, a mixed martial arts lightsaber fighting club.
The mission of the Star Wars superfans of the AZ Saber Club and others like it: safety, fun, and being one with the Force. Here in a different sector of the galaxy, Los Angeles, Lightspeed Saber fighters compete for bragging rights in a ranking system. It's inspired many local Padawans to grow into Jedi through online training during the pandemic.
I've actually been part of the team that has worked with Kang and some of the higher ups in Lightspeed to design the online training program. So really studying different fencing types, different sword play, and really kind of creating a technical manual of how to do this sport.
But you don't have to be some martial arts prodigy to be one of the best. Tom DiMartino's just a fan of Star Wars, but as he ignites his Sith blade, he becomes the 6th best fighter in the nation.
That's the great thing about this community is you can bring absolutely nothing to the table and just pick up things over time like I did. You get people who have kendo training, you have people who have Eskrima training.
Lightspeed Saber's next qualifier will take place on November 13th as they prepare for the regional championship in December. In Los Angeles, Jordan Moffat, Cronkite News.
Congratulations to DiMartino, who took home first place for the first time in his Jedi training as a lightsaber fencer at the October qualifier.
That's it for this special edition of Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us. Break It Down is next.
Hey, I'm Rick Steves. You know, I don't go anywhere without my passport. Thanks to PBS Passport, you can watch all my travel specials. This exclusive streaming service is just for our members. Not only can you see all my shows, but you can see thousands of hours of your favorite public television shows. Become a member today.
Break It Down is brought to you in part by Mayo Clinic and viewers like you.
Arizona is currently one of the fastest growing states in our country. With this population growth, Arizona is seeing shifts in its economy, jobs, and the housing market. As an Arizona native, I've witnessed the shift firsthand and how it's impacting our residents both positively and negatively. I have Cameron Robb with me, who has extensive experience in business and workforce development. Cam, thank you very much for joining me today to talk about the Arizona boom and to break it down.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Veronica.
So Cam, let's talk more about this. Now, don't get me wrong, I have lived in Arizona my entire life, so I think it's an amazing state. But what is attracting others to come here as well? Why are we seeing this boom happening in Arizona?
Well, I think that's an exciting question because I'm also a native Phoenician, so I've lived here my whole life, and I have family that goes back to actually the territorial days. Back into the 1860s and all the way through. And so, what I can tell you is that the Phoenix that I'm living in today is not the Phoenix that I grew up in. In the 1950s when my grandparents were here, there were like 500,000 people. Now we're booming at close to 5 million. So I think that what attracts a lot of people are the same things that we enjoy about living here. So the climate, We've got a ton of people that are coming from states like, obviously, California. Probably 30% of what we see in our pipeline at GPEC, for example, is coming from California. Illinois, Oregon, Washington, people get charmed by the palm trees and the sunshine and they don't look back. But from a business perspective, it really is a low cost market. We're probably 40 to 43% less operating cost compared to California. So, we've got the advanced infrastructure, we've got the top talent, we have, an inviting tech and startup, opportunity landscape. So I really feel like, with a lot of those things coupled, you're going to see people who want to be a part of our friendly, innovative, community grid system, all of the outdoor activities. People dig that we have 400 golf courses and 400 hiking trails and, beautiful sunsets, and they can afford to live here.
We think about like the housing applications, you mentioned California, Washington, Oregon. It's clear that this boom really has impacted the economy and also made our housing market more competitive. I saw, Cam, in an article that since 2015, Arizona housing has seen the median closing sales price from $211,000 to now $350,000. What are your thoughts on this spike?
From 2000 to 2009, we built for the population. From 2010 to 2020, we underbuilt for the population. So we're not in the same bubble now that we were in that was caused by the lending crisis. That's not what's happening here. This is basically a supply demand issue, and the problem is, or in this case, it's a lack of supply. So, anecdotally, I think we've all been hearing the same things about, the median time frame that a house stays available on the market is 6 days. I actually had a friend at the office. She's putting in offers right now. She's trying to close on a house, and her story is this. So not only did she not get the house, but what she learned from the broker was that something like, 68 offers and 87 showings on a single house all took place in 48 hours. 98% of the offers were over asking, 17% of those offers were cash, 10% of the offers were waiving inspection. It's just
my goodness,
so much pressure.
Yes.
And we're going to continue to see that pressure. But to your point, I also saw the same thing, that the median sales price for a single family home, it's actually over $418,000 now, which is a 33% spike compared to this time last year. It's out of control.
Wow, that is insane. I actually closed on a house March of last year. And so I got very lucky. I was so happy. And there were a couple other offers too. But I feel like now it would be the same thing that your friend experienced, because friends in real estate are saying that, when they go on the market, they sell immediately.
And the other thing that we're looking at it is kind of from the construction side. So, single family permits right now, as of March, they were up nearly 27%. So, I think what happens is we're at these elevated levels. We're going to stay at these elevated levels. People are afraid of all of the building. We haven't seen this many permits since 2006. And right now, we probably don't have enough builders to build all of the houses that they have permits for, and the construction costs have gone up in some cases 350% on lumber and different things like that. So it's putting a lot of pressure, on other parts of the market.
Cam, what are your thoughts on like the time frame, right? Like, how long are we expecting this boom to last?
It's really interesting because I think these cycles, there's a little bit of an unknown, and I'm not an economist. I work in economic development, but I'm not an economist by trade. I'm a musical theater major, so take that for what it's worth. But I really think that what we're seeing is, some people measure it by unemployment, right? So you're saying, well, what's the cycle? What's the time frame? If you take a look at the US unemployment rate, it's just over 6%. It's like 6.1%. The AZ unemployment rate is 6.7. So we're not far off from the national average. Our labor force has increased. We've recovered jobs, and people have recovered, in the service sector and restaurants and hotels. All of those things are coming back. So, as of March of this year, our labor force is larger than it was prior to the pandemic. So what I'm thinking is, we've got this deep talent pool. We've got tons of companies that are moving here. Just this year, GPEC located 20 tech companies from the Bay Area. And so, taking a look at who we're bringing over, you're seeing Move Technologies and Cul-de-sac. And we have some legacy industries. So we've got aerospace and defense, and we've got microchip technology, and we've got healthcare. But we're also really on the map now for electric vehicle manufacturing and semiconductor manufacturing. And those things are not slowing down. So I really, even though the housing feels a little bit panicky, we have more jobs, more opportunity, more tech companies, more advanced manufacturing, more base industry adding to the ecosystem here that's going to continue to fuel jobs, and injection of capital investment into the economy that I think is going to be sustainable for quite some time. Phoenix was just ranked number 7 in the nation for startups. So
that's amazing.
A lot of momentum that I don't think is going to be slowing us down anytime soon.
Yeah, it seems like more people bringing more jobs, more opportunities. And that's why this has been really helpful to hear, especially the diversity of the companies coming here to Arizona as well. So Cam, thank you so much for taking the time to break down this topic with me. And hopefully we continue to see more of the positive effects that you mentioned that the boom has for our great state of Arizona. So Cam, thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thanks, Veronica. It's always a pleasure.
This hour of local news is made possible by contributions from the Friends of PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you. If you have comments about Arizona PBS News, please contact us at one of the addresses on your screen. Thank you.